This episode of the Managing Madrid Podcast is brought to you by the Beverly Hilton. The legendary Beverly Hilton Hotel shines brighter than ever following a dazzling renovation. Their iconic guest rooms and suites reflect modern elegance with sweeping views of the Hollywood Hills and the city skyline. Stay among the stars. Hey listeners, if you're traveling to Los Angeles for Real Madrid's preseason game against AC Milan at the Rose Bowl on July 23rd, make sure to book your stay at the Beverly Hilton. You know what else you should do? You should make sure to come out to our show in Los Angeles and Dallas and Houston. Link to book your spot to our Houston show in July is in the show notes. We will have details for LA and Dallas soon, so keep your eyes peeled and your ears peeled, if that's even a thing to say, on the podcast. We will make that announcement pretty soon, in the next few days or so. So please keep it locked, and we will publish details on those podcasts soon. But in the meantime, book your spot to the Houston podcast before July 1st because prices go up after that. Coming up tonight is a podcast about the UEFA Nations League final and other things. I also wanted to give much love to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. To your fathers, and also to you if you're a father, to your grandfathers, just all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. Enjoy today's podcast. I hope you had a great day. Love you all, and let's get to the show.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there, and worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to a late Sunday night edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani, here after 2-3 days of running after my kids in a cottage. It was a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Came home to some Father's Day shenanigans with myself and my dad and a couple of other dads in attendance. And we kind of watched the Spain-Croatia UEFA Nations League game in the background. I did not, sit down there with a pen and paper and looking at stats and all that stuff. So this is not going to be a huge, serious, analytical podcast. It's just going to be something to give you guys on your RSS feed. So on Monday morning, when you head off to your commutes to work or when you're cooking and you miss us and you don't have anyone else to listen to, we're here for you. We're here. Euan McTear joining me after 1 a.m. in Madrid from his apartment. How you doing, Euan? How's your energy levels right now?
Good. I mean, I think the season's over now. I think Danny Carvajal ended it finally this season, the longest season in a long, long time. I think it's finally over, although kind of thought it was over before the Nations League and it just kept going and going, extra time penalties. I think we're finally over. So,
are you sure?
Good. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they now tell us there's some, I don't know, Super Cup in July we forgot about or something. I don't know. There's always something.
I have a funny story about this. That last Real Madrid game at the Bernabeu, the one where Benzema gets subbed off, which feels like 3 years ago now.
Yeah,
the Athletic game. I told everyone in my family, this is the last game of the season. Yeah. I won't, it just kind of eases up from here on. And there will be the odd transfer here and there that I'll really have to work, but I won't be bound to a schedule. And then the week after it was oh guys, hey, I forgot about this. There's a Castilla Clasico. I got to watch this. What? I thought it was over. Yeah, so did I. And then today we were it was Father's Day. I was what are you watching this for? I was well, let's just treat this one as it's just a fun thing to do. This is just a fun thing. People around the world are watching football right now. It's not work. Let's just watch this. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow there's something. I will say tonight, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, a massive, massive game. CONCACAF Nations League final, Canada versus USA. You want to stick around?
It never ends.
That's in about an hour.
You
never want to stay awake for that one.
The football never ends, Kiyan.
There's an old any friendlies left?
There's qualifiers, which as a Scot is good fun just now. We just beat Haaland, and we have.
I saw that.
9 points. We're 8 points.
Odegaard had a salty quote
ahead of Haaland. We're 6 points ahead of Spain. We might go to a tournament. But even I'm like, I watched it yesterday with other Scottish people here in Madrid. I don't know if I had the energy. Just the football needs to stop. We need to have a break.
It's got to be the only sport that is just nonstop, 365 days a year. It's just stretches out. Preseason, by the way, starts next month.
Oh no!
In about 1 month's time, actually, literally in 1 month, Real Madrid will be in Los Angeles. So it's never ending. All right. Let's stop being so negative, Euan. Football is great. It brings everyone together. We love the sport. We love what we do. So from a Real Madrid perspective, it was potentially you could have had 4 Real Madrid starters. You only had 1. Luka Modric started for Croatia. On Spain's bench, Nacho, Fran Garcia, and Dani Carvajal were there. If you want, you can count Joselu kind of because he's imminent, it seems. But Joselu also came off the bench, and Fran Garcia did not get off the bench. Maybe we can start there. I thought that was interesting. Do you think he should be getting more minutes than he has been?
No. He was called up to the squad because Juan Bernat got injured. So, this always happens where someone gets injured and you call up a replacement, especially fullback positions or a position where there's a clear starter. If the backup is out injured now and you're there clearly to be the second choice left back, because if you were rated higher, you would have been in the original squad, then you're not going to start. And in his case, even less so because De La Fuente made a thing of Jordi Alba as the captain for this tournament, and is basically probably his last important games of Spain. So I was not surprised he didn't get any minutes. I'm sure Fran Garcia knew he probably wasn't going to get off the bench, maybe in some extra time or some injury, but I think he knows that he's just happy to be in the Spain squad and learn from these guys, form part of the group, that he will be part of the group, I'm sure, in the future. But I don't think him or anyone should be too surprised that he didn't play in these games. It's only two opportunities anyway, and Jordi Alba was the kind of captain for this one, so not a big surprise to me.
I imagine, Fran Garcia is obviously a player for the future. Jordi Alba is kind of at the tail end of his career. I suppose there's plenty of more time.
This might have been his last game for Spain. I mean,
Yeah.
Probably was. Good way to go out, lifting the trophy.
Good way to go out for him. Brutal way for Modric if it's his last international. I felt I'll be really honest with you. I felt sad for him. I just Croatia have come close so many times. And I felt like the way this was going, it's like, oh, Croatia, extra time, penalties. This is what they do. They grind out. They want to play the long game, which is also crazy to think because of how much age they have, how much mileage they have on the field to actually be able to sustain it. But I was trying to explain it to my family watching. I was like, this is Croatia, just play an extra time every game. It's this back-to-back UEFA Nations League extra time, and then you had the World Cup, and then the World Cup before that, it was all extra time. And just a lot of mileage on Modric. But he's come close so many times, Euan. And tonight, I don't know if there's anything else he could have done. I mean, looking at his numbers, he had 11 of 14 long balls, 86 touches, 86% passing accuracy, scored his penalty in the shootout. Felt really gutted for him. I don't know. I was leaning towards rooting for Modric in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they've come so close. I mean, they're like the boxer that never gets knocked out. They always go the 12 rounds and at least make you make a points decision. And maybe they win, maybe they lose, but they're always still standing at the end, take you to extra time or penalties. And, I mean, this is a thing where you kind of felt like Nations League is maybe the trophy that Modric wins with Croatia, and Croatia would have loved it. You looked at the stadium, 90% of the fans there were Croatians. It was Croatia really cared about it because, and I kind of love these tournaments, like the Conference League that they've created. You saw how much that meant to Roma, how much that meant to West Ham. You saw the Nations League. Okay, the first two were won by, Portugal and France, nations that have, won big tournaments recently. Spain as well, they know what it's like to win. It's not like I'm having to close the windows here because there's dancing in the streets in Madrid. There was a few shouts from some nearby apartment, on my street, but nothing like crazy. These are countries that are used to winning these things. But for Croatia, this kind of tournament would have been, celebrated as much as a World Cup or Euros, because just winning and getting some hardware for all that they've done the last decade, the Modric decade, would have meant something. And to me, they didn't win it, but it's kind of justifies the Nations League a little bit to me, that you do actually give this extra hope to all the Croatians that went to Rotterdam for this game. And if they'd won it, it would have been limbs, but not quite. Another runners-up medal.
20 years from now, how important is the Nations League? Like, what do we look at it as? Do we look at it as do we really value this trophy? Or is
I think the big countries don't. I think the big countries probably don't. But that's the thing is, even for example, Netherlands have been to a final. If they would, the countries that are not your top tier, your France, your Spain, but even then they've not won for 11 years. Even Portugal, they had won Euro 2016, but I think them winning the Nations League, you could see what that meant to Cristiano Ronaldo when he won the Nations League as well. It's, if you're not France, Germany, maybe a couple others, maybe Spain and Italy are in that category. If you're not one of the favourites for every Euros, international football is hard. There only are 2 trophies and they're only given out every 2 summers. It's hard to win a trophy at international level because there's only a Euros or a World Cup or a Copa America and a World Cup. So having more trophies and more chances for a great team like Croatia to actually get some hardware at the end of a great decade, I'm all for that. I don't think it should be, maybe that's a different discussion, I don't think it should be in June. I think the season's too long. We're all just waiting for the season to end. It's gone on too long. Thank you, Dani Carvajal, for ending this season with that spot kick. I'd love if the Nations League was played in the September break or something. Everyone's a bit more fresh. I think it's not fair on a lot of the footballers who imagine playing in some leagues that finished in the middle of May. This is their first games in 4 weeks, and they've got to kind of sort of be in limbo, can't quite go on holiday, aren't in the Champions League final, aren't in the FA Cup final. They're sort of just waiting around for this. I think it's unfair on the footballers to put this right here when it should be their proper downtime. But I do like the tournament because the more trophies, the more chances for the non-huge teams to win something, the better. The net positive is more happy fans and players. So who can really be a Scrooge and be against the idea of more joy in the football world?
Yeah, actually, I complain about the schedule all the time, but I will say I'm all in favor of anything that makes the stakes higher and putting an importance of on the game, because this ultimately is way more entertaining than friendlies, right?
Yeah, it's replaced friendlies basically. You're right.
Yeah, that's basically what it's done. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Conference League. I love that idea because I think not only we saw with the final this year was amazing, but it also, beyond the tournament of the Conference League itself, it makes the leagues more interesting. Because before there was a problem of if you're in mid-table, if you're not getting to Europe and you're not getting relegated, what do you have to play for at the end of the season?
Exactly.
But now there's actually an urgency to win those final games of the season, and there's no longer this period where some teams are in limbo, on this treadmill, have nothing to play for. So I think it's all been all good. And the Nations League isn't entertaining. What was that, Spain France final? When was that? When Benzema scored?
2 years ago. Yeah,
that was awesome. That was really entertaining. Yeah. So I think the Nations League has ultimately been a net positive. The game, back to the game itself. You mentioned Carvajal ending a fitting way to end, because all of those Spain penalties, except for the Laporte one, were all so well executed. Was there anything different? I've seen some theories already, but did you feel like there was what was the reason Spain's body language in this PK shootout was so much better than the World Cup one?
I mean, maybe Unai Simon didn't share his secrets. Did you see this? The thing that came out recently where Bono, the World Cup shootout, Morocco, Spain, Bono said, Unai Simon had on, a piece of paper all the Morocco penalty takers, where they tend to go, and he put it behind the goal and said to Bono, "Look, come on, don't be reading that, please. I'm just going to put it there, and I won't read your list. Very naive, and then basically Bono was behind the goal, telling all the players as they're coming up, hey, whatever your preferred side is, like he knows, so go the opposite way. Maybe Unai Simon's learned a little bit from that, although it did take him until I think the fourth penalty to save one, because I think
it was save.
Who scored the third Spain penalty? Was that Rodri? Could have been Rodri or Asensio, and whoever it was that scored that one then went to...
It was Mikel Merino.
Mikel Merino, this was it. You're right, yeah. Mikel Merino. And he goes over to Unai Simon and basically says, like, it's your turn now. Like, we've scored 3 in a row, big pressure. We're going second. It's up to you now. And then he duly goes and starts saving penalties. So, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. The body language seemed a bit different. I mean, I think it just helps when you're putting them in the top corner, your own penalties, that gives the goalkeeper confidence too. So, and that's the thing, like Spain not only scored their penalties, they were emphatic, top corner, a few of them, or Panenka's, high risk, high reward kind of penalties. Even Laporte's one, if it goes in, we're talking about how good it is. It's, a couple of centimetres. They were very clearly not doing little roll it into the corner. They were, don't give the goalkeeper a chance and would rather the post or crossbar saves it than the goalkeeper. So, worked out in the end. But it's a lottery, these things. Could have absolutely gone the other way. So
the Carvajal penalty, I have done zero research to actually fact check this. I tweeted it. It might not even be true, but it's got to be the second.
It's true. Everything on Twitter is true.
It's factual. It's written down. It's set in stone. Carvajal's Panenka penalty must have been the second time a Real Madrid player in history has scored a Panenka penalty in an international final. The first one obviously being Zinedine Zidane. You actually are much better at digging these little details better than I am. Is there any way to debunk that or prove it's true?
I mean, you can go back and check penalties. I've not done that either, so I'll just trust you.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Going based on memory.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
You did remind me of the Benzema and Ramos PKs of the past too. Ed tweeted this, Eduardo Alvarez. He said that, did I keep the tab open? He said, he says, quote, little known fact, Carvajal is more than a decent penalty taker. He used to stay with Sergio Ramos after training sessions with him and bet against him. And he won more often than Ramos did. Did you know this?
Yeah. Like they were proper, like betting, like I don't know what it was, like €100 or something. Yeah, I remember that story at some point. I don't know who won or not because they'll probably both tell you they won. I don't imagine Ramos is admitting he lost that, but yeah, I remember that something like that they used to bet each other.
Spain things. I know you tweeted about the fact that there are 10 La Liga clubs represented in the Nations League squad tonight. Atletico, Barça, Espanyol, Rayo Vallecano, Real Betis, Real Madrid, Real Sociedad, Sevilla, Villarreal. It's cool to see that diversity.
It's cool on the timeline. You go through and you're seeing all these clubs tweeting about their guy winning the trophy. And I was like, that's actually quite a variety of clubs. Let me check how many exactly. Yeah, 10 La Liga, 16 La Liga players in the squad from 10 clubs. Like it's a bit of a shift from previous squads. A lot more Premier League players in previous squads. A lot more condensed to Barca, Madrid, maybe Sevilla, or whatever the informed team of the time is, Atletico. Now it's a lot more spread out.
Where do you see? I mean, we barely have a sample size. Is it like 4 or 5 games under De La Fuente? 4. Yeah, there were the 2 games in March, I think it was, and then these 2. Way too early to tell. But do you see a clear direction or any improvements necessarily over Lucho or anything that you wanted to note, like differences, distinguishing factors, anything?
Like, really, no. Like, I think this Spain team has been worse, but they win. And I kind of tweeted about this towards the end of the Italy game. And I tweeted, like, Spain are finally going to win a trophy, aren't they? Like, playing not that well. They've had points in the Italy game where they played well. They had points in this game where they played well. They had points where they played really terribly. I know and was delighted by it, but they also played absolutely awfully against Scotland. Even the game that they won
Yeah.
against Norway, they were not good. This 3-0, was flattering a little bit. This is a very strange Spain project. The sacking of Luis Enrique immediately afterwards was a bit strange. Hiring De La Fuente was a bit strange. It kind of felt like playing to the gallery, playing to the media. And from what we've seen, they've won a trophy, but I don't know. I think he has credit in the bank now. He'll be able to see this through to the Euros. But if to answer the question of do I think this is an improvement on the Luis Enrique Spain, I don't think it is. I don't know if it's worse. I don't know if it's better. It's not a particularly amazing Spain team. It's just that they happened to win two games, one of them in the last minute against Italy and one of them on penalties, and that's kind of typical, I think, of football sometimes, where you might have a better, more organised, more impressive team, and they just don't win, and then a fluke here and there, and they can win a trophy, and it suddenly justifies a whole project. You saw Rubiales was delighted on the post-match interviews and everything with his choice, and it's like, yeah, you have won a trophy, but I don't know if the process really is the right one. But we'll find that out after more than 4 games.
Well, today's game was pretty even, I'd say. I mean, both of these teams had really great chances.
They both had spells. It was a really back and forth, like a good 20 minutes from Spain, good 20 minutes from Croatia. It was a back and forth game that way.
Yeah, it was. The XG was pretty even too. I think 1.73, 1.16 for Croatia, 1.73 for Spain. So, there were different spells. I think the first half was kind of cagey, but again, as you said, there were momentum swings. Spain, towards the end of extra time, had a little bit of momentum, but I don't know. I think it was pretty even, all things considered. That Scotland game you mentioned was pretty jarring for Spain. Scotland that was an absolute bloodbath, that game. I feel like this Spain team has the ability to be really bad, but also the ability to go toe-to-toe with anyone in Europe. It's kind of weird like that. They are kind of missing the traditional superstar. They don't really have that guy. I mean, the one I can think of right now is Rodri looks great.
Yeah. No, he's amazing. Pedri too, and I guess we should give
Pedri when healthy.
We should be fair to De La Fuente. He's not had Pedri yet at all, so we can.
What's the update with them? He hasn't played football in a while. It sounds like.
No, he came back for a bit. They took it easy towards the end of the season. Properly rehabbing Pedri. So hopefully the good news. I mean, this was a guy that he played 70-something games one season, the Olympics year, and I think Barcelona and Spain have learned the lesson from that and given him this time off to rehab and come back strong for the next season, which I think he's earned that. So you're right. He is that kind of differential player who could be the guy that him and Rodri together. I mean, you're starting to talk about one of the best midfields in international football if you have both of them at the same time, which we haven't seen enough of. But yeah, every international team has injuries. It's you're right. I think you described it well. It's a team that can go toe-to-toe with anyone, but also they can be bad or they can be good on the day. But it's to win a whole tournament, you need to be more than just competitive to win 7 games and win a tournament. This was 2 games. You can do that. To go all the way in a Euros or World Cup is totally different, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Do you have anything else on this game that you wanted to bring up?
So yeah, as you said, the Real Madrid players, not too much we could say.
Nacho had that one amazing tackle.
Nacho got Nacho's game was interesting. That not long after he came on, he got injured and was properly hobbling. Even moved him to right back for a moment, moved him back to centre back, trying to work out how to get through that extra time with Nacho injured and no changes left. Carvajal, just one other kind of Carvajal story. He did the post match interview. Well, they interviewed almost everyone, but he did one of the post match interviews, and you must be delighted, whatever. He said, well, actually, like this was like the first final that I've had where I've not been a starter. Like he's never not started a final. I mean, for Spain, like that's not been they've not been to finals really, but with Real Madrid, he's talking about he always starts the finals, the Champions League finals, Copa del Rey, whatever. So he said that he felt really uneasy what to do, and he asked to give a speech in the dressing room before the game. So he gave a speech to the starters, and he was, he said he got a bit emotional and almost couldn't finish the speech. So that was kind of his subtle contribution. Like he felt he should do something because he wasn't going to be there from the start, and must have been a strange feeling for him. And well, I guess in the end, he kind of got to be there for the photo finish when it matters and be the hero. If he'd started the game, there's no way he's playing to minute 120. So ended up being a good night from him. From what you kind of got a sense that he was pretty much saying that he kind of went into this game feeling a bit down that he wasn't starting. So worked out for him. Nacho came on, got injured, won it, and who else was it? Fran Garcia didn't play, and Joselu and Asensio. You can decide if they're Real Madrid players or not.
Yeah. I mean, Carvajal also in his celebration, now that you mentioned the post-game interview, which I hadn't seen until you told me, but his celebration also matches that feeling. He didn't go crazy or anything. He just kind of stood on the spot, pointed to someone in the crowd. I don't know who.
Even the interview was very calm, cool, collected, like the kind of guy that wins Champions Leagues, But yeah, you could tell that actually from a lot of the veterans, like Jordi Alba too, and some of the guys that have been there before were like, I think a lot happier for the younger guys than for themselves. Jesus Navas was another one, and I think they sort of feel like some of the guys, even the guys now late 20s that just missed the golden era of Spain, but have been impressive. Guys like Morata, whatever, who have been loyal servants. I think some of the veterans were like, these guys deserve a moment like this. So yeah,
felt like they were loose.
Nice moment.
Like they were loose. I feel like they were playing with less pressure than Croatia is what it felt like. I mean, even like Jordi Alba, like joking with Luka Modric before the game. Remember Jordi Alba and
Chiellini? Yeah.
There's still, I sometimes just randomly think about that during my day. I'm like, man, that was such a weird moment where Chiellini was so like just trying to joke with him, and Alba was just so like, I don't know what, he was just all stiff and like wanted none of it. It was a very strange interaction. I just wanted to highlight again, Nacho, obviously, he's hobbling around, he gets injured, but I think it gets injured from that one goal-saving tackle on Meyer.
Yeah, I don't know where he got injured, but yeah, you're right. It might have been from that, yeah.
Did you know that Casillas saved a penalty today on Kun Aguero in the
I saw
Kings
that,
League?
yeah. Like the American dribbling up and shooting penalties, yeah.
Yeah.
And Unai Simon has now saved more penalty shootout penalties than Casillas. He has a new record. Was Casillas in his Spain career saved 5?
How many has Casillas
penalties?
been in? 2008?
Maybe not that many, to be honest. Although probably about the same as Simon. I think Unai Simon has been in 3 now, maybe 4.
There was that one against Ireland in the World Cup.
There was, what was the one on was it Paraguay? Or maybe that was in the
2010.
game. Yeah.
There was 2008 versus Italy. 2010 there was one, and then I think there was actually 1 or 2 in the early.
Yeah, he was in a few. You're right. I don't know the percentage, but because he has had the record 5 penalty saves in shootouts, and Unai Simon went from 4 to 6 tonight. So yeah, he's. I think he's cemented himself as number one, and yeah, I'm really happy for him because he going full circle with the Croatia game in the Euros where he let in that own goal in like the start of the game. That was a big moment of has he given up this chance, and now he's absolutely the hero. So yeah, shame for Modric, I think, but from like a Spanish national team perspective, like the first it's been a while since they've had not even just a tournament win, but just it's been a while since they've had like a moment like that. So yeah, happy for a bunch of the guys on that team because a lot of them have never won with Spain before. So there you go.
Switching gears to fully Real Madrid discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Fan base is currently melting down, losing their minds because there's that video circulating of Florentino signing some autographs. A fan asks him, will there be more signings after Joselu, and Florentino Perez says no. Is he just trolling in that moment? Like, just, is he telling the truth? What do you think?
I don't think he's telling the truth. I don't think he's revealing his transfer plans to a fan on the street. He's smart enough to know that every one of these videos is being filmed. There was the one, 2 weeks ago when someone asked about Mbappe and he said, not this year, next year. This was before the whole Mbappe letter.
Right.
He knows he's being filmed with all these things. I think he's just having a bit of fun with some fans. The last thing he's going to do is say, yes, there's more signings, because when you then turn up at the negotiating table with whoever that signing is, you seem a little bit more desperate, or if it's a good position for Real Madrid to be in if they can sort of give off the pretense that their business is done and that they're only going to buy your player if you give them a good deal. So I wouldn't read too much into it. We've seen a lot of Florentino videos over the years saying things that were true, untrue. I don't think he's lying. I just don't think it's the kind of setting where he's truly really revealing his transfer plans.
Good. So I'm not the only. I thought I was going crazy.
You don't read much into this either, do you, Kiyan?
No. First of all, I think it's always best to under-promise and over-deliver. I believe in that strongly. I also don't there's a lot of people who are like, oh, this guy's an absolute idiot. The club's in terrible hands. Like, there's a lot of this just because of this video. And I think it's hilarious that if he had have said yes, they would have celebrated. And what if he didn't sign anyone after saying yes? I just don't think that this is a definitive thing, like a definitive truth. Having said that, I would be disappointed if we didn't sign anyone after Joselu, because I think there are obvious needs in the team. But I'm just not reading too much into this video is all I'm saying.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Also, how many times have we seen people who are clearly in the know, just get things wrong? Remember that time when Zidane said that Bale is leaving to China and then he stayed? There's been so many instances of either a coach or someone saying something that, or
a comunicado oficial that says something that actually then in 2 or 3 weeks is not true. If you're right, if some statements in official settings are not even promises, fully guaranteed promises, a 2-letter comment on the street to a fan is not written in stone promise of the entire summer transfer strategy for a window that hasn't actually officially opened yet.
Yeah. So let's just wait. Let's just wait to see how it unfolds. Okay, we're gonna wrap it here. Euan, thanks for a little bit of your time on a late Sunday night. Appreciate you. And we will. What is it today? We actually do have a podcast tomorrow morning. So we'll do. Stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, Euan, thanks so much, man. I appreciate your time.
No worries. Take care.
Peace. All right, thanks for listening, guys. And before we sign off here, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. It's been an absolute honor getting to know you guys and seeing this Real Madrid family grow, and you guys are a big part of it, and we wanted to thank you. And we also wanted to give a shout out to our $10 plus patrons specifically, because if you pledge $10 or more, not only do you get access to our entire back catalog, plus guaranteed responses to all of your questions, but you also get a specific shout out on the podcast. So shout out to these $10 plus patrons as follows: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Way Paring, Wamik Jamal, Tobias Royo Botcher, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Sheikh Hatiri, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samer Z, Sai Mohan, Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafari, Oscar Barrera, Omar Barawani, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Moller, Nick Ribeiro, Nelson Masariego, Naveen Babu, Ramesh Babu, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Osorio, John Fernandez, Jeff Soa, Jason Fitz, Jacob P., Ian Marley, Howard Moore, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, S.A. Davisito, Ernesto Gutierrez Vargas, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Connor McMorrow, Christian Toff, Christian Acosta, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Arnab Mukherjee, Armand Gashi, Armando L., Anthony Tharp, Anirudh Singh, Andres Silvestre, Ananya Kumar, Alex Steiberg, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalikovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Mahrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. You guys rock. Thank you so much. And Hala Madrid.